Here I have my code from the previous video, and let's change it so it has better titles. So for example, this legend title, let's change that to predicted artist. Okay, that's a little more realistic now, I think. And the whole point of these charts I was making was to show what do the predictions look like for different values of the n neighbors, the different values of k and k nearest neighbors. So instead of just saying something like artist at the top, let's say something like n neighbors equals 1. Okay, I think that's better. And what if I want to change to a different value of n neighbors, so like a different value of k? Let's set k equal to 10, for example. And it took me a while to see how the chart changed. Just like look at the bottom here where it's mostly blue on the left, and then there's sort of this on the lower left, and then there's like this mixed portion here with both blues and oranges. And let's change from 1 nearest neighbor to 10 nearest neighbors. Okay, so it will predict the artist based on the 10 nearest neighbors from the training set. And so you can see that especially the left side has changed quite a bit, the lower left-hand side, and there isn't really that cluster anymore, or I should say now there is a cluster of blues here, rather than being mixed between oranges and blues. So like if I go back to k equals 1, for example, okay, then you can see this mixture here between orange and blues. Okay, and then for 10, where we have more bias, less variance, okay, then that goes away and becomes this little blue cluster. And so I would like this one here to also change into a 10. Okay, or let's use the variable name so I don't have to write it twice. You can see that Python doesn't know that this k is supposed to be interpreted as a variable. And so the old-fashioned way of doing this was something like put braces here, and then after the string, put dot format k. And this is like saying inside of these brackets, put the string corresponding to whatever the value of k is. Okay, so that works. That's like the old-fashioned way of doing this that you'll still see very often in documentation, especially if it was written a couple of years ago. But the new way of doing this is, let me delete that. And let me just put k here inside of braces. So that doesn't work. And what I have to do to change it is put the letter F before the quotation mark. And what that does is it tells Python this isn't just an ordinary string, but it should be an F string. Okay, I think that stands for formatted string. And now you can see that this K has gotten replaced by its value, which is 10. And so the nice thing about that is now if I change this to 20, then this automatically gets updated to 20, and the chart also automatically gets updated. So now there's just this cluster of blues down here. And you can use as many of these as you want. For example, you could say something like j equals hello. And then inside here, you could put j. Okay, so that j has turned into this hello. And you can even do operations inside of these braces. So for example, you could say k minus 3. And then that 20 turns into this 17 here. But let's go back to the one that actually makes sense. And maybe with an equal sign. So now we're specifying that this chart we see here is made using 20 nearest neighbors.